Hey everyone, Ivy Gaming here, and today we're playing Dragonheir Silent Gods. For today's video, we're going to take a look at the newer poison-type heroes that have been added for Season 1. Alright, so if you haven't already been following, I've been posting videos on all the new heroes that have been added for Season 1. This is more new for the sake of the CBT2 players, but new for everybody else as well. I don't have a chance quite yet to go through all the other heroes that were in the game beforehand. That's a whole nother story. So I'm going to have to do that in another manner as the time is winding down. The game's actually shut down tomorrow. As of me posting this on the 15th, there is no access to the game. Then after that, access will start. And well, yeah, at least for CBT2 players, but that's a whole nother video I need to talk about. But for today, I am going to be talking poison heroes, and also a heads up, I will be posting probably tomorrow my video on a tier list, sort of, like ranking who should you choose from the Horn. And we are going to consider some of these new heroes, of course, as well. But keep in mind, everything's going to be based on just reading their kits because we haven't actually played them in game. But yeah, I'm really excited to release that video and hopefully help some people out. But let's get to it. It is time. Let's talk about our first hero. So we have Alton, Forest Dweller. Dweller, not Dweller. They have a typo. But this is a rare hero. So we'll start with the rares and we'll go through the epics and we'll see what sounds good. So rare defensive melee unit is passive. When allies' HP drops below 30%, for the first time, they're granted ally protection for 10 seconds. Battle skill has a 100% chance of dispelling one debuff from the hero and the ally with the lowest HP. An ultimate deals poison damage to an enemy with a 75% chance of inflicting attack penalty 2 on them for 10 seconds. Grants defense up 2 to the hero for 10 seconds. Interesting. Okay, he sounds like a pretty solid tank against like a single target. Maybe not necessarily waves. He's going to struggle a little bit, but a decent tank sounding, at least from reading that, for sure. With the attack penalty 2, that's really great to have on a melee damage dealer, making sure we're keeping that up on the boss. And then dispelling a couple of debuffs here and there from other allies plus himself makes him an even better tank so he can't be controlled, or maybe get rid of those decreased defense that make him squishier. I like it. He sounds pretty solid. If he's defense based for his damage as well, he might be surprisingly good, like a lot of the rares. For another rare, we have Sigrid, who's a defender. Support unit, ranged. Passive skill, when an enemy inflicted with a debuff dies, the hero gains 25% ultimate energy. Let's see this ultimate. Battle skill shoots 2 toxic arrows to the enemy, each dealing poison damage with a 75% chance of inflicting healing prohibition. Now, keep in mind, guys, they are a little bit confusing in this game. Poison is a debuff, but poison damage is just what each element does. They each do their elemental damage, but they're not the same thing. So inflicting poison is a debuff, but dealing poison damage is not the debuff. Those are two different things. Ultimate deals poison damage to an enemy and all enemies inflicted with debuffs with a 75% chance of inflicting healing prohibition and attack penalty 2. Interesting kit. And chances to come back to that. So chances to come back to the ultimate, or I should say, the more debuffs that are on the target, the more she's going to apply healing prohibition and attack penalty 2. That's pretty good. There's definitely some bosses as well where they heal and you want to prevent that from happening. And putting a decreased attack on a boss is always a good choice. So this sounds like a pretty decent hero, especially for a rare. Some of the rares really surprised me in this game. Honestly, I feel like there's so many times I'm looking at these kits and it's like, I don't really see rarity. I just see they sound like they'd synergize well or not. You kind of gotta not necessarily always just look at, are they a rare, epic, or legendary? Just see how they might synergize in a team. And some of them really surprise me. Alright, ultimate deals wait, we just read that. Aura increases all allies' accuracy by 30 in all battles. All right, next. All right, the rare Letalis Gloom Garb ranged unit is passive when the hero deals damage to an enemy. There's a 30% chance of inflicting the target with attack penalty 1 for 5 seconds. Battle skill deals poison damage to an enemy and removes 20% of their ultimate energy. So it's almost like a deplete turn meter for their ultimate. Alright, ultimate deals poison damage to enemies within range, has a 75% chance of inflicting heal reduction to enemies above 50% for 10 seconds, and a 75% chance of inflicting healing prohibition to enemies below 50% for 10 seconds. Interesting. I feel like this was the guy I saw someone show a picture of that had like a full board range, but it can't be. I would doubt that. It's a rare. I might be thinking of someone else, but I swear this is the picture I had in my head. I'm gonna have to go look that up. But alright, Aura increases all allies' attack by 24% in dungeon battles. Definitely solid. They have so much utility from these rares that they're pumping out. They're definitely trying to show us that you can use rares and epics very well in this game, especially for PvE content. Next up, we have Shink, Flutter Ear, a defensive melee unit as well. When attacking enemies inflicted with poison, the target's 1% defense is ignored in every stack of poison they have. For every stack of poison they have. Okay, ignoring defense, that's always good for damage. Battle skill throws a dagger that bounces between enemies up to 5 times, dealing poison damage with it, with a 75% chance of inflicting 1 stack of poison for 15 seconds. Okay, he's sounding alright. Ultimate strikes an enemy 5 times, dealing poison damage each time, with a 75% chance of inflicting 1 stack of poison on the enemy. So I think it's just that when using it as ultimate, there's only 1 chance to add that stack of poison. Or is it actually every 5 times he has a chance to add stacks of poison? Interesting. I guess it's so much harder to tell until we see some of this in-game, because some of the descriptions are a little bit better, or you could actually see the diagrams for how they, or where they hit. But he sounds like a solid poisoner to help keep the poisons up all the time. And if he's actually defense-based, and again, if he's another one who's defense-based to be like a tank that actually can deal some damage, if his damage is based on defense and he can do some poisons and be a tank and help keep those poisons coming, sounds really solid as well. I'm really curious about these poison heroes. We're off to a pretty interesting start. It just depends on what their damage is based on. If it's based on attack, but he's a defensive melee unit, and then he's got this weird, like, he doesn't sound like he'd really be a tank when I read this, unless he's actually defense-based for damage as well. Otherwise, he just sounds like an attack-based melee damage dealer. He doesn't really sound defensive to me. So a little bit of a confusing kit, but I certainly think it has potential. All right, on to our epics. We have Garion, Serendipitous Guard. Support unit ranged. Passive skill for each ally with less than 50% HP on the field. The hero gains 1 stack of recharging speed boost. And on top of that, for each ally with less than 20% HP on the field, the hero gains an extra stack of recharging speed boost. The battle skill heals the ally with the lowest HP and grants the ally debuff immunity for 5 seconds. And then ultimate regenerates a healing nexus, or generates a healing nexus at the designated area for 8 seconds, healing all allies within range every 1 second. So a kind of heal over time for 8 seconds, plus the battle skill healing and debuff immunity. But coming back to those probably pretty quick due to this recharging speed boost. He sounds like a pretty interesting healer. That's one of those that's a bit quirky that we're going to have to really see in action before we can say he's a good healer or not. But I like it. It sounds interesting. So far, none of these heroes just sound terrible. Maybe some, like, if they're based on attack instead of defense, they might be meh. But overall, Pretty solid, interesting heroes so far. All right, we have Vikuk. I'm not quite sure if there's any accent supposed to be there, but interesting name. The Ever Cherished. All right, support unit ranged. When a hero is inflicted with a debuff, there's a 100% chance of inflicting accuracy penalty 2 on the debuff caster for 5 seconds. Deals poison damage to battle skill, Deals poison damage to enemies within range and a 75% chance of inflicting attack penalty 2 for 5 seconds. That's good. We really want the decrease attack type skill for any sort of fight. It's always helpful for survivability, especially boss fights. And ultimate dispels 2 debuffs from all allies and heals them. For each debuff successfully dispelled on an ally, the healing on that ally is increased by 25%. This is the guy! This is the guy, guys! This is the guy! Okay, so this is the one I saw that has, I think, a full board range, because as it says, from all allies and heals them. Not within range, just does it. So 2 debuffs cleansed and heals all allies. And increases their healing if they remove a debuff as well. He is, alright, so he's a ranged version of someone like Furboth. Because I remember seeing that person be like, oh, they're going to be, I just saw that one skill in the character and being like, oh, okay. And I think I saw the battle skill because it's like attack penalty 2 as well. But he's a ranged unit and his ultimate does not attack enemies. So you would never put the decreased penalty or defense penalty artifact on him either. So this guy plus Furboth on your team as like the healers and tanks, you would keep up the attack penalty 2 probably the whole time between his battle skill and Furboth's ultimate. And the healing between both of them, Furboth is going to heal the guys that are melee, that are on the front line, and this guy's just going to heal everybody. I think that sounds like a really amazing little duo to cover your bases pretty well for healing for the poison, the poison element. I think this guy jumps up to a top tier epic if those heals are as good as we hope. Of course, it depends on multipliers. Is the heal based on attack? Is the heal based on enlightenment? Is it based on HP? Like, there's so many things, like, it kind of depends on. So we'll have to see in game what that is. But just on paper, he sounds like top tier support. Love it. All right, and now we have the epic Theodore. Great choice. His passive when it's a support ranged unit. His passive when an enemy is inflicted with control, 10 ultimate energy is granted to the ally with the highest attack. When the ally is inflicted with control, the ultimate energy of the ally and highest attack is reduced by 20. The ultimate energy that I think they mean the enemy with the highest attack is reduced by 20. This skill only takes effect once per period. I certainly hope he's not going to... Yeah, I think they mean that with the enemies under control and then against the enemy with the highest attack, why would he reduce your team's ultimate energy? Why would you reduce the ultimate of the person who's about to do damage? That would not make sense. So I think they mean enemy as well. I think that's a typo. We'll have to find out, though. I certainly hope that's a typo. Battle skill. Shoots 2 arrows at the enemy, dealing poison damage with a 75% chance of inflicting recharge speed penalty for 5 seconds. Ultimate deals poison damage to enemies within range with a 75% chance of inflicting stunned for 5 seconds and a 50% chance of inflicting attack penalty 2 for 10 seconds. Increases all allies' accuracy by 50 in dungeon battles. Alright, stunned is great. Crowd control for the waves. I would say maybe for something interesting like, I don't even know. If he's got good range, maybe Goblin Lair, but for the most part, you want people that are good against the boss. But I guess the attack penalty 2 will be good against the boss. The stunning will be good for wave clear and control. So maybe he's just got a little bit of everything. And depending on the bosses, if you can... recharging speed penalty, I don't know. Some of the bosses have restrictions with that type of stuff, so it depends. But recharging speed penalty, I'm not I don't think you can affect that for most of the bosses, but I could be thinking wrong. But he is interesting. He's definitely interesting the way he can affect things. It almost sounds like it was more made for arena, but then he's got a dungeon battle aura. So this kit honestly confuses me. I don't know about this guy. I don't think he's one I would focus on. He just sounds a bit confusing. All right, we have Olas, Gutter Wolf, poison type ranged unit. Passive, when the hero deals damage to an enemy under poison, every stack of poison on the enemy increases 1% crit rate of this damage. Bonus crit rate, that's nice. Battle skill, hurls a poison bomb to deal poison damage to enemies within range with a 20 or 50% chance of inflicting 3 stacks of poison for 15 seconds. That's pretty solid, long lasting poisons. Ultimate deals poison damage to enemies within range. When hitting enemies under poison, triggers poison explosion once. Okay, we have a poison exploder and increases all allies' enlightenment by 48 in all battles. All right, so this guy sounds amazing for a team where you have multiple units placing poisons. He has poison explosion. Sounds like it's going to be great. Hopefully a boss killer, maybe great in Vortex. Really curious about him for sure. Sounds like a top tier option for a poison team. All right, and we have Gareth, Frontier Blade. Defense melee damage dealer here, or tank. Guess we'll see. When the hero passive, when the hero takes damage that exceeds 20% of their max HP, they gain healing equal to 50% of their damage. Battle skill, the hero gains defense up 2 for 5 seconds, then strikes at an enemy, dealing poison damage and reduces the damage taken from that enemy by 30% for 5 seconds. All right, damage reduction, defense up, healing sounds really solid for a tank so far. Ultimate deals poison damage to enemies within range with a 75% chance of inflicting attack penalty 2 for 10 seconds. All right, that's what I want to hear. Really good. Really good. So he sounds like a great tank for a poison team, but not better than Furboth, because Furboth also has the heal for allies within range. I think that's going to be a little bit more helpful. He has like a couple heals with his kit. This guy just kind of heals. Wait, when hero takes damage, they heal themselves and they keep themselves alive. And it's great that they apply attack penalty 2 to the boss or whatever you're fighting or within range. But the fact that he doesn't heal as well, he would definitely not be in the place of Furboth. Although if you don't have Furboth, he'd probably be a 100% solid pick for a tank for a team that synergizes with the poison element. All right, this guy has a fun look. We're on to the legendaries now. Rayta, Queen of the Swamp. Legendary support ranged unit. Passive, for every debuff inflicted on the enemy, their damage is reduced by 6%. Battle skill deals poison damage to enemies within range with a 75% chance of inflicting attack penalty 2 for 5 seconds. After a short pause, it again deals poison damage to the enemies within range and a 75% chance of inflicting accuracy penalty 2 for 10 seconds, or 5 seconds. Ooh, already sounds like an amazing hero for the Vortex boss. Yup, and I am confirming with this ultimate. Ultimate dispels all debuffs from all allies, granting them defense up 2 for 10 seconds. Extends the duration of all debuffs on all enemies by 5 seconds. Cannot extend the duration of a damage debuff. Okay, so this sounds perfect for the Vortex boss, mainly for the harder stages once you get like a month or 2 in, when the boss starts doing the decrease defense debuff. He can cleanse it and help you stay alive. Really, really solid. And then if you're trying to resist the decreased defense debuffs, then the accuracy penalty that you can put on the boss to make them have less accuracy is even better as well. But for every debuff inflicted on the enemy, their damage is reduced. Damage reduction on the Vortex boss, not only and a decreased attack penalty. That is crazy good for damage reduction as far as what's going to come to you. And that sounds solid. I'm surprised it's all aura is accuracy, or sorry, HP by 45% in City of Trials, which is Feywilds, I believe. It might be Feywild and Pillar of Trials. I'm not sure if it's both or not, but they have never changed the name of that. I don't know what they really mean. But it does work in Feywild. I remember that. Anyway, so yeah, solid top tier hero for Vortex. I feel like if I was going to go poison synergy, which I probably am, poison and fire are going to synergize together, I would be really hoping to get this hero because they're going to help your guild boss battles. You're going to last so much longer. You're going to survive so much longer, which is kind of the key for damage. And yeah, the more time you stay alive, the more you're placing debuffs like poison or something else, or just doing damage. So really, really great hero. All right, now we've got a fun, crazy little mouse here. Twitch, Corpse Flinger. He's a legendary poison type ranged. Passive, whenever an enemy is inflicted with poison by a skill other than this passive skill, the hero has a 35% chance of inflicting 1 stack of poison to the enemy for 15 seconds. Extra poison stacks. Sounds good already. Battle skill shoots an arrow at the target dealing poison damage. For every 60 enlightenment the hero has, the hero shoots 1 additional arrow. Up to 5 arrows can be shot upon 1 cast. Ooh, fun! So his damage is going to be based around enlightenment as well, I would assume. Besides just the fact of shooting more arrows, I would hope. Alright, and then his ultimate launches a total of 4 attacks on the target area, with each part inflicting poison damage on the enemies within range, with a 50% chance of inflicting 2 stacks of poison on them for 15 seconds. Yeah, it definitely sounds like a great poison comp hero. Solid. The legendaries are always, well, mostly solid in this game, for the most part. But there's definitely some lackluster, like every game. Not every legendary is perfect. But yeah, he also has an aura, increases all allies' attack by 45%. In City of Trials. That's massive. Okay. That's great. So something based on enlightenment and attack for his damage, and he's going to be a solid hero. That sounds fun. All right, and last but not least for our list here, we have legendary Vikana. She-Wolf. Poison ranged unit. Passive grants 1 stack of permanent enlightenment up for each enemy inflicted with poison, which cannot be dispelled. What does that even mean? Which cannot— oh, like no one could cleanse her enlightenment up buff that she's gonna put on herself. Ooh, interesting. That's new.
I like to talk a little bit about
Alright, fires 3 arrows for the battle skill, each at a random enemy, dealing poison damage with a 75% chance of inflicting 1 stack of poison for 15 seconds. And ultimate fires an arrow dealing poison damage to enemies within range and marking them for 10 seconds. Each time the marked enemy is inflicted with poison, a toxic blast is triggered, dealing derivative damage to poison and— dealing derivative damage to enemies within range. Derivative damage is increased by enlightenment as a stat, so I really like the sounds of this. This sounds like a really hard-hitting poison damage dealer that you're gonna build with some solid attack and enlightenment, or maybe a full enlightenment, or maybe, I guess, enlightenment and crit rate? I don't even know. It sounds really quirky. I'm curious. She sounds interesting. Really, really sounds like she's made to smack, which we definitely want to see. And again, all of these are made to synergize. When you see like the poison for the type, just like wilds, or like summon, or frost, those are kind of things you want to synergize together because more is going to be better. And poisons are really good against bosses, especially like the Vortex boss. And yeah, even poison teams have been probably one of the most successful in the whole game overall last season. So really fun to see them adding some great poison heroes. They sound wonderful to me. But yeah, that's all for today's video. Stay tuned for the following ones over the next couple of days, and I'll see you in the next one.